This week we brought on a special guest who was very excited for WoW Classic. He's been playing a lot of it recently, so we spend the first 45 minutes or so just talking about his experience and his expectations and how much he's enjoying it. And then after that we get into gaming and some tech news to kind of wrap it up. Next week's going to be all about Borderlands, so get ready. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 37. Yeah, 37 of Pixel Perfect Gaming. And we have a special guest this weekend. Pat, why don't you introduce our guest?
Hey, everyone. This is Joe. I've known Joe for quite a while now, Joe. I think I was in probably 10th grade when I met you.
2010, I think. 2010, yeah.
2010? Oh, so I was a senior then, but a while. Yeah, we've known each other for a while now. Met through WoW, and then played WoW together, and then we just played other random games together, like Pub and League, and that's about it. But that's Joe. Everybody welcome Joe.
I did turn you into a beer mule once.
You did. That is true. You did.
Beer mule, huh?
Yeah, because the brewery up here, they limit you on how much you can buy because like people wait in line for hours to be able to get it, and so Joe drove up here to get some and was like, yeah, you're going to say that you are buying as much as they'll let you buy, and you're going to give it to me. Okay. Got it, Dad.
Which brewery was that?
Treehouse.
That was Treehouse, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Delicious Treehouse.
Good stuff. So, Joe, we brought you on this episode to talk about WoW, classic WoW in particular, because you've been talking about it for quite a while.
You are the hype man for it.
I am the classic WoW hype man. I was pretty pumped up for it.
So, did you play it like day of? Did you take any time off work to play it or anything? Or
I took the day off that it launched, and then I had 4 days in a row off anyways, and my dog's sprinting around the house, so if you can hear that, I apologize.
Yeah. It's got the zoomies, man. It's cool.
So yeah, I did take the day off. Launch day was crazy. I got into the queue. I didn't get a queue. I will say that. I didn't get caught in a queue, but I logged into the character select screen about 3 hours before launch, and I just waited to hit enter world. So I bypassed the queue by getting in early.
Good plan.
Wait, did you do something special to get in early? To get into the character select?
You could log into the character select screen starting on the 13th of August, and it launched on the 26th. You could create up to 3 characters before the servers actually launched, kind of like a name reservation type thing.
I gotcha.
So myself, Ken, who you know, I think, Dan, Vin, we all sat in the character select screen for about 3 hours, just BSing before it actually launched. And then as soon as the button lit up, Enter World, we were cramming on that button, and we all got in amazingly.
Nice. Now, were you all giddy at login, like as you're logging in? Were you like, oh, it's happening? My dreams are finally coming true.
There was some exuberant excitement. I would say that, like, we all sat there, we're like, okay, we got to watch the cutscene. We got to watch the cutscene because it's the first cutscene. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a new beginning. It's cheesy, but it was for me at least. It was like it took me back 15 years. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of almost like a transcendent gaming experience. And I wasn't the only one. You know what I mean? A lot of people were really caught up in the hype.
So what race class combo did you go with?
I went Orc Warrior.
Now, in Classic, the Orc and the Troll starting places were the same zone, right?
Yeah, it's a shared starting zone.
So was it just completely fucking overrun like crazy?
It was bonkers. It was crazy. Like, there had to have been, no exaggeration, maybe 1,000, but definitely hundreds of people in the starting zone. And you just formed up a group with the people you were with, and hoped you had someone with an instant attack, like a rogue spamming Sinister Strike, because you just needed to tag mobs, essentially. And then there were named mobs, because there's quests that you have to kill named mobs, and literally people formed lines, and you just sat and waited for your turn.
And did you sit in one of the lines, and did you respect it?
Oh, you've got to respect the line. We're forming communities here, Pat. We're forming a community, all right? This isn't retail WoW. We don't do whatever we want.
So, what name are you going for yourself in this community?
I'm not
the reliable.
No, I'm not particularly going for a server name. I'm not trying to make a name for myself. I won't be able to play that much to be that important on the server.
So how has because in Classic there's no more Dungeon Finder, which I know you are very happy about. But how long does it take you to find dungeons?
It doesn't really take me long because I'm a tank.
Oh,
so
okay.
I can just advertise and looking for group, Scarlet Monastery, and as long as I put that I'm a tank in there, I'll grab a group pretty quick. But I will say that from talking to other people, getting groups isn't hard right now because it's so popular. There's so many people that you just grab groups, man. If you're in the looking for group channel, it's constantly being spammed with dungeon groups looking for someone. So the only real inconvenience is travel. You have to travel to the dungeon. You're no longer teleported there, which is fine. This is all stuff that I've been asking for. Even if I struggled for groups, I wouldn't have cared because these are things that the Classic community has been asking for a long time. Even people who weren't part of the Classic community that didn't know that that's what they wanted are finding that they enjoy this style so much more because it forces you to interact with other people. Like you don't have the convenience of going, these are just some randoms I've been thrown with, and I don't really care if I talk to them, and I don't care if I see them again. So, it's really pushing people towards a more forced social interaction, which I think a lot of people are actually enjoying.
See, I don't want to interact. I won't be an ass. Like I understand, that with the looking for dungeon queue and everything and just throwing together random groups and it was cross server that, there wasn't a sense of like respect for your groups and your group members. It was just, I'm here for what I want. Screw everyone else. I wasn't that kind of asshole, but.
Well, there is that aspect of it where, people are, I won't say encouraged, but there's less of a consequence to being a jerk because chances are you will literally never see those party members again. But it goes deeper than that from my perspective. I was one of the people who was like sitting in Shatrath on when Burning Crusade was, still the expansion, and they announced cross-server like Battlegrounds, and they announced different cross-server things, and I was the one, in trade chat going, this is dumb, this sucks, this is gonna, we're no longer Maelstrom, which is the server I was on now we're whatever the name of our battle group was, and I don't remember what that was, and I was like, I don't like this. I want to be part of a server community, not a battle group community, because I won't see these people out in the world, so why would I see them in dungeons or in groups? It goes deeper than the jerk, like the stereotypical, now people can be jerks. It goes more towards, it leans more towards just being part of a server community and like you're connected with these people. And I know maybe it sounds dumb, but it's definitely a tactile thing. It's definitely a real thing because people are really enjoying this. And I don't know how long it'll last. We're probably going to see the tourists check out soon. But I think there's enough people that got hooked to where this is going to stay healthy. I suspect it'll have over 1 million players for a really long time. And 1 million players in a modern MMO now is a success. I mean, WoW, retail WoW is probably the only other real MMORPG that has over 1 million players that play consistently. Maybe Black Desert, but most of those people are from Asia. And
Final Fantasy, I would say.
Okay, you're probably right. There are a lot of people who play Final Fantasy, and there are a lot of people who left retail WoW for Final Fantasy. I know that.
Yeah, Chris was trying to get me into Final Fantasy. One of the videos he sent me was Like, oh, you're a refugee from WoW. Here's how to
Right.
play Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know a lot of people did leave retail WoW for Final Fantasy. I know a lot of ESO online. Well, that's kind of redundant. ESO players left for Final Fantasy as well. But it's been great so far, man. It's been a lot of fun. I've worked it into my work schedule, and I've worked it into my schedule of as far as moving into a new house, because I just bought a house, and I've been working on the house and still getting a couple hours here or there on WoW. Classic, that is.
So it's living up to expectations for you, obviously.
For
right?
me, it definitely is. And everybody that I talked to that has played it is really enjoying it. We've had a couple people leave. They said they're going to leave for a few weeks to play the new season of Path, but they said they're going to be back as soon as they do all the things that they want to do in the new season.
So is there anything that you aren't happy to have back, or that you've experienced and you're like, oh, I forgot about this. This is actually pretty annoying. I hate this.
I've probably my rose tinted glasses are too tinted at this point. There probably are things that are inconvenient that I'm just going, whatever. It's classic WoW. Maybe travel time, but even that is fun for me, because on the way to places, I'm always doing stuff, or I'm chatting in trade or in general chat. I will say this: the Barons chat has really devolved into something that it wasn't back in 2004, 2005. I mean, back then you kind of had the Chuck Norris jokes and the occasional troll, but now it's hyper political.
Great. That sounds enjoyable.
So the ignore list grows by the day as far as that goes.
So did they keep any quality of life things from current retail WoW?
Really, no. Really, they didn't. The only thing that is different is now, of course, you have battle.net as far as like your friends list, real ID, I guess I would say. And so you can, if you're friends with someone on the opposite faction, you can see what they're, kind of see where they're logged in and stuff like that. But I mean, other than the real ID aspect, no. The client is not the old client. It's the old, well, the game engine isn't the old game engine. It's the newer engine. So it's basically Legion engine, but running the old data. So you can run the new water particle effects and stuff like that, but physically, like as far as like the logistics of the game is, getting from place to place, or inventory, or menu system, it's all the classic WoW menu system. All that stuff is the same as it was.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of them keeping like the graphical updates and things like that, and even making them optional if you want.
Well, you don't get the new character models, like even if you want them, even though it's client side, you don't get it. And that was actually a big to-do between the quote unquote classic communities, or the private server communities, and the people who were like, I'm going to try it out, but man, I really wish I could have the updated graphics. People were like enraged by that. Like, no, it's kind of like if you give an inch, they'll take a mile type thing. And people were worried about any changes leading to more changes.
I gotcha. There's kind of like that problem with the old school RuneScape community. Like that's like they pull everything that they do, or at least most things that they do. But whenever there's something that could be potentially a big thing, like adding in a new skill, for example, it's just so many people freak out about it, and they're like, no, you have to vote no, because once we let this through, then everything's going to start going downhill to how it was before, and whenever we move to RuneScape 3. And
there was actually an add-on that got announced. It was sponsored by Icy Veins, so it was like on their website, and that was the only place you could get it. It was called Classic LFG, and basically what the add-on did is it parsed the looking for group channel, but also it would auto invite people who were looking for the same dungeon. So essentially it formed groups for you. It just didn't send you to the dungeon. Well, because physically it couldn't, but it really took a lot of the interaction out of it. It formed the groups for you. You just, in the add-on, you just selected this dungeon, I'm looking for these things, and I am this. And then it would form the group for you by parsing LFG. And people flipped out. Like there was thousands and thousands of response thread on Blizzard's forums, and they broke it as the game launched. And they actually came out and said, listen, this is something that was technically possible back in 2004 and 2005. Nobody had made an add-on like this. But from our perspective, and clearly from the community's perspective, it doesn't fit the spirit of Classic WoW, so we're actually going to break this add-on so you can't use it anymore. So there's a lot of push towards keeping it authentic, I guess I would say.
As pure as possible.
Right. Even from Blizzard, which is surprising and refreshing from my perspective, because they've gone so far as to leave, like, artificially create something called spell batching, because back in the day, in 2004, you'd get spells would be batched in like maybe 300 millisecond or 400 millisecond batches of like a window of time what spells happened here, and it was a technical limitation of the game. And now the spell batching is probably more like 25 milliseconds, so really instantaneous. They've actually implemented 400 millisecond spell batches so that it can be more like it was back then. So like two warriors can charge each other and end up in opposite locations stunned. Or a warrior could charge a mage and the mage could sheep them at the same time. There was some interactions back in 2004 that couldn't happen on the modern client because it was better, that they're actually turning the spell batching to a 400 millisecond block so those things can happen again.
Interesting. So, what do you want them to do with the game to keep it growing, to keep it moving forward? Because it can't just be stagnant forever, or else it'll die.
Well, there's as far as like options of what to do, let's say in a year and a half from now, when they've released all the content, because they're releasing everything in phases, trying to mimic the patches of Classic WoW, of Vanilla WoW. They're going to release everything in phases. And I think most of the community assumes that as long as it remains popular enough, they're going to move on to TBC, the Burning Crusade.
Like they're just going to start from the beginning and kind of redo the expansions, but keep out the things that they wish they hadn't done, like flying, for example.
I think they would keep the expansions exactly how they released them. I don't think, this is pure speculation on my part now, I don't think they would move past Wrath of the Lich King, because most of the people who left the game, like that's where the mass exodus really happened, is from Wrath of the Lich King to Cataclysm going on to Miss Pandaria. That's where the huge drop off in population was. So I don't know that they would move past Wrath of the Lich King, because a lot of people look back on Wrath with a lot of good memories.
Yep,
I'm one of those. I know you were. I would say everything after Uldum for me in Wrath was total crap. ICC was okay, but like Trial of the Champion, we're getting real into the weeds with this. But what I would say is Wrath is probably the last one they would release as a classic experience. I would think that as they release each expansion, even though you have a danger of splitting your community, like splitting up your population, that they would allow people to stay on each of those like classic ends, TBC releases. You can keep your character on the classic server and TBC never happens for you, and you can move them over to the TBC server and continue on.
That'd be interesting.
There was some speculation about quote-unquote Classic Plus, where they continue with Classic with like unreleased content that they never like got around to releasing. But I think all that stuff got into expansions, so I don't really know how that would work.
Now, would you be against them re-releasing the next two expansions, but changing things? You know, because anytime I see like an interview with a developer or something on it, and they say about things like they regret putting in the game, flying always comes up.
I mean, I would agree with them on that. I don't know, man. I just, because I don't know how many people would be down with that, and even though I want I'd love to see the Burning Crusade release without flying and never have flying. There are certain aspects of that expansion that require it, like getting to the dungeons and raids in Netherstorm. You have to fly to them. There's no other way to get to them. I guess they could put in a flight path, but then I think you alienate too many people, and people that actually wanted the Burning Crusade experience. And I don't think flying killed. I don't think it killed everything, all interaction in Burning Crusade, because there was still a lot of cool stuff that went down in the world in the Burning Crusade, because people didn't really catch on as much. I think people still did things out in the world and weren't flying everywhere. I think flying was kind of like a slow burn as far as hurting the community of WoW.
Okay. Would you? I don't know. I like the idea of what Jagex does with old school. Like, all right, here's an old copy of the game. We put it in, and we will move forward and grow and develop the game. But it's all going to be voted on by the community. How would you feel about that kind of development?
I guess it would depend on whether or not I agreed with the vote.
Well, not even just, we're not even talking a vote in particular here, but they just say, we're going to have polls on content, and it needs to be over a certain threshold of yeses. It can't be like a 50 to 51%. It has, if it's going to pass, it has to be over 75% of the vote has to agree to it.
And there's a threshold of people that can vote. It's like 300 skill level, I think. It's not just anyone that creates an account comes in and votes for stuff, which is pretty important, I would say.
That sounds pretty smart to me. I'm gonna. So it's so weird because I'm so much of a anti-authoritative person. Like I hate authority, but I would cede to Blizzard on this one. I trust that they would do the right thing for Classic, because I think that their approach to Classic is a good one. The way they've gone about it is kind of a pure thing. It's obviously there's money involved. Obviously they're hoping to boost the sub numbers, and I think they're hoping for some spillover from Classic to retail. I don't know if I'd want to go down the rabbit hole of constantly having to vote on released content, because I think we talked about this before. Not everybody's happy with OSRS and the votes. I think you were one of the people that's like, well, that's dumb. Something got voted down and you didn't like it, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I don't like it or anything, but I accept it. That's the way the community wants to go. That's the way they want their game to go. I accept it. I don't like the vote. I don't like the way that they want, like, that they feel about those certain aspects that are voted on. But if that's what the overwhelming community wants, then that's what it gets, I guess.
Right. I think I haven't really thought about it enough to give a solid opinion. I think at this point I would say there's a huge truck driving by the house. I think that at this point I would say I would cede decision making to Blizzard. I don't know that I'd want the community to vote on everything.
Okay. Respectable. I like the community voting.
And I think Blizzard is seeing what the game is doing. I mean, their stock has risen for the first time since like last November, consistently every day since Classic is released. The sub numbers, well, I can't say that. Nobody knows what the sub numbers are. But if you Google like hits and searches, Classic is wildly popular, and it's been popular since the release. And now that's not going to last. I mean, I don't think it's sustainable, but I think it'll have a healthy community for a long time. So I think Blizzard kind of sees that, and if anything, I think it bodes well for Classic and any potential moving forward once Classic completes whatever life cycle it has. I think it bodes well for the retail game, because I think Blizzard is recognizing that, yes, people did like quality of life changes. People like being able to go to dungeons instantly. People like being able to queue up for battlegrounds instantly because there's huge battle groups. But people do miss servers, and people miss difficult content. So like Classic is a slow burn in the sense that leveling is difficult. There's a time sink there. There's a time sink for prepping for raids. There's a time sink for gearing up for raids. There's a time sink for prepping for raid night. There's a lot of time involved in Classic, but those are also a lot of time involved for like super hyper competitive Mythic plus Raiders. So like the retail game's kind of backloaded. You know, the end game is the game, and leveling isn't really important.
Just
Whereas, right, whereas Classic is more of a complete package. I think Blizzard recognizes kind of some of the gearing mistakes they made. And once again, we're getting into the weeds. This is like really specific stuff. The gear in retail WoW is unsatisfying for most people. It's just like incremental upgrades. It's like, I just got a new bracer and it's, 10 more stamina and 30 more agility, and that's boring. And it's RNG in the sense that it might Titan Forge, it might not. It's just, I don't think it's satisfying. Whereas in Classic, you get so pumped about getting a new axe at level 30 that it's super satisfying. I don't know, and I can't put my finger on why. It feels good. It feels better, man. I don't know why.
So is there anything that, if you had to pick one thing from current retail WoW to bring in, what would it be? And then the opposite of that, what would be the one thing that you 100% would keep out?
Let's start with the second question, because I got a thing about the first one. The one thing I would bring from Classic to retail would be servers being a thing. Get rid of all cross-server everything. You'd have to probably condense by a lot. Servers would die. You'd have to eliminate servers and transfer people to other servers, but just make servers healthy and make them their own standalone world, so that you could try to bring the communities of WoW back. As far as things from retail coming over to Classic, maybe the updated character models, because that's cool. I like that, and I think that it's something that would impact the game in no way whatsoever. And that's my main concern, is if I brought something from retail to Classic, would it change the dynamics of what the game was? And I don't think the updated character models would change anything.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I don't know what it would change besides how people, besides what you're looking at, doesn't change anything mechanically.
Well, the water is updated, right? So you can run the modern Warcraft water in Classic, and people were pissed about that. And the reason why they're pissed is because you can hide underwater more easily. It's harder to see through the retail water if you've got the graphics all the way up, because it's easier to. It's harder to see if you've got the graphics all the way up. There's a sheen on the surface, and you can't see down into the water very well. Gotcha. And so in PvP, people can like hide in the water where they couldn't in Classic, because you can just see right down through it. It's just, it's less transparent in the modern client.
Okay.
So there's things that you would think, who cares? You know what I mean? What does it matter? And people find things. You know what I mean?
People gonna be picky about it where they can.
Especially people who are operating off of nostalgia. You know what I mean? They're probably even more likely to be, steadfast in their, I don't want any difference. I want it to be the same, which is impossible, because it's not 2004 and we're not the same people and we have different responsibilities. But I still want it to be as close as it can. I mean, there's a guy that's playing with us that has never played Warcraft. And he played with us on launch night. It was one of our friends, one of Ken's friends. So his name's Sean, and he was like, "Oh, I've never played, but I'll play with you guys. I'm kind of pumped up. It's getting a lot of hype." And I was like, "Dude, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous that you're going to be playing Classic WoW for the first time, and you have no reference. Like, there's no nostalgia driving it. It's all going to be new to you." Because even though I was pumped, I was like, "Well, I'll never get the experience replicated truly again, because I've done it before." And he's going into it fresh, and he's been having a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know some people that this is their first time ever even playing WoW as a whole, and they're loving it. Like some people in other Discords that I'm in, so it's definitely good. It's definitely successful and everything. But I mean, personally, not for me.
Right. I think it's good for if you're a fan of MMORPGs, which is that community shrinking as a whole, anyways. I think. Well, I don't want to try to put my finger on that, but I think it's good for the community because I think people are kind of longing for some of the RPG that is not part of MMORPGs anymore, like having to train your skills and having to level up certain things, and which is weird because you love leveling stuff up in OSRS.
No, I don't.
So I thought that was a thing for you.
No, it's any kind of grind is literally just a means to an end, so I can get to that thing that grind is going to let me do. I don't enjoy doing it. I enjoy what I get to then do after the fact.
Gotcha.
There's definitely with all, with the variety of skills, there's definitely ones that I don't mind as much as others, or maybe don't even mind at all. But to say that I'm like, yeah, man, like I had so much fun leveling my fishing today. No, those words have never come out of my mouth.
I literally said that 2 days ago to Dan. I'm like, dude, all I did tonight was fish, and I had a blast.
We're such different players.
That's what I like in MMOs, honestly. It's not the reaching the endpoint, it's the grind. The grind is what I find enjoyable because when you get to the goal, then the dopamine is gone. Like you get the dopamine hit, but then it's gone. While you're working towards it, it's just the most enjoyable for me.
I can respect that. Like I was questing 3 nights ago, and I completely skipped some quests, and I just went to an area where I knew I could just grind mobs. And I'm a skinner on my hunter or on my warrior, so I was grinding beasts so I could skin them and sell the skins. And I was just like, I lost like 3 hours of time. I was just zoned in, and I was just chilling, talking to people in Vent. See, it's 2004 again in Discord, and I was having a great time. And I I was just grinding the same mobs for 3 hours straight.
See, I get the dopamine hit from being able to do that thing that I get to, and then I guess grind that thing. Keep killing that boss over and over again, hoping for that one rare drop that I'm trying to go for. But the process to be able to get to do that thing, I hate that process. Like raiding in WoW, I really enjoy raiding in WoW. Leveling up to be able to, and gearing up to be able to, I hate that shit.
And I think there's a lot of people who would agree with you. That's why retail WoW went the direction that it did. It had to, number one, because you can't expect people to level from 0 to 120 and have it take as long as it would if they changed nothing. But also people they just want to get to endgame and raid. I'm sure the boosts are popular as hell, or else they wouldn't be in game, where you can just boost your character to 110 and then grind out the last 10 levels.
I think boosts just take you straight to max level now.
No, it's so right now max level is 120. You can boost up to 110.
Oh.
That's like the consequence of a game evolving, like MMOs evolving, unfortunately. Because Lineage was like, everyone loved the grind to get to max level, but when they finally got to the point that max level was 99, and it took so long to get there, and so much of the community was old, like there was not a lot of new players, everybody was basically already 95 plus because it's just that veteran. I mean, you get to a point where when you introduce new people, you pretty much have to offer them some type of boost to get them to the late game stages to try and keep them as a player, because otherwise they're going to fall out because the newbie zones and all the low level zones are just dead. Like nobody wants to be in them.
No, and you're definitely right. And how do you solve that? I think they probably solved it in the best way they could.
Yeah, I mean, boosting is probably the best way to solve it, unfortunately. It's just a consequence of an aging game. I mean, there's not much else you can do, unfortunately. Yep. It is what it is.
I think the recruit a friend thing that WoW did was like a good answer to it. Like you get someone new into the game. Now there's of course ways to abuse this, but you get someone into the game, and whenever you guys are grouped playing together, you get increased experience. So you'll level faster, but you're still playing through all the early content, still get to experience it, but it'll be at a faster rate for you.
Right. Maybe an MMO could try a seasonal like development style, sort of like Diablo or Path, where everything starts over every year or so. I don't know. Maybe that could be something an MMO could try to keep things fresh, and they say, yes, it's starting over. Boom, it's wiped. It's starting over. Oh, by the way, when you get to endgame, there's also new stuff there. That's our development cycle. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know how else you would keep the old world or zones healthy without, I don't know. It's a very difficult problem. I wouldn't want to try to have to solve it other than what they
You're not
did,
gonna be
which
able
is
to
allow
please
boosts.
everyone with that. Like
And that's
with
something-
anything, you can't.
That's something people have speculated Classic might do, is go into a seasonal cycle, but I don't know how popular that would be.
I would hate it. If I played Classic, I would hate it because my least favorite part is the leveling.
Right.
And if they're like, yeah, new season, start over, like, nah, not happening.
It's not an easy. There's no easy solution to that problem.
I am not their target market here.
True, but you say that, but we played WoW for what, a good solid 8 years, 8.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I love WoW. I just only enjoy the end game stuff of WoW. I'm not the player that you want in Classic to try to help build the community because I don't give a shit about the community. I want to get to the end game so I can start raiding, have my small community that I'm in with the guild, and I don't care about anyone else. Fuck that.
Right. See, there's things in the modern game that you can't have in that were in Classic. Like when I was in what was the name of my guild? When I was in a guild called Equilibrium back in Vanilla, we had a troll hunter in our guild. His name is Bajin, and he was literally a troll. Like he would troll the alliance starting areas, and he would troll them on the forums, which forums were like a thing back then. Like your server's forum was a legitimate way to communicate with people back then. And he was in our guild, and he always told us he was one of the developers on Elder Scrolls. What was the one that came out back then?
Morrowind? Oblivion?
Not Morrowind. Oblivion. Yeah, Oblivion. And so he'd talk about how he's a developer on Oblivion. Nobody believed him. But anyways, there was a whole alliance guild that formed around finding and murdering this guy in the world. They were called the Drunken Troll Thumpers. And their job was to find Bajin in the world and just murder him over and camp him over and over and over again. And you can't, that's not a thing in retail WoW.
And I'm okay with that.
Hopefully Chris's house isn't burning down.
Chris, are you running for cover? Well, he might be. I don't know. I'm not a fan of world PvP.
Right.
I don't mind battleground PvP because I'm opting into that. You know, you can use the argument of, well, you're opting in the world PvP by selecting that type of world, but I'm not, because all my friends play on those servers, so I'm only playing on that to play with them. I don't know how is the world PvP? Have you partaken in it? And
it's kosher, man. Like it's been good. There's been a lot of world PvP, but people are kind of holding back. If someone waves, then you wave back generally. If someone doesn't
like
wave,
a peace treaty.
Yeah, if you wave and they don't wave back, then it's like cowabunga time, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It's time to go. But
that's how you determine.
Yeah.
I mean, I like those little things, like those little quirks that evolve because of the way that Classic has to be. Like, those are cool and those are fun. I just don't want to partake in them. I like hearing about them. It's just not for me.
I've been out in the world and I've saved people like of the opposite faction more than once. Like, they're struggling. They've got 3 mobs on them and they're at 20% health, and you're like, that guy's dead. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna save this dude. I'm like, I could be a scumbag and I could kill him and then take the mobs, but no, I'm gonna save this guy. And it's a split second decision. Sometimes I might kill him, sometimes I might save him, but it feels good when you save him and then they're like, thank you, and they run off, and maybe they help you later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they wouldn't help you later in retail because you'll never see that guy again. He'll phase out 2 seconds after you helped him.
That's okay.
Like he never existed.
About that guy. I'm glad
Chris
you're
is-
enjoying it, though. I'm glad it's living up to all your hype.
So far, we'll see. I'm sure it'll fall off, and I'm not the same person I was back then. I don't have the time to play as much as I did then. So if I raid, it will be super casual. But the good thing is we know more now. We're better gamers now, so you can probably do it super casually and still see all the content now. Whereas back in the day, I think like 15% of the WoW community saw Max, and like 5% actually cleared it.
So do you want to raid?
I just want to play. When I get to 60, I'll decide. I'm only level 32 now, and like that's not even. It sounds like it's halfway, but it's not. It's not halfway.
Yeah.
I think XP wise, level 48 is halfway.
Yeah, it's like in RuneScape. Halfway to 99 isn't 50 or 49.5 or whatever. It's 92.
But do you know how you know WoW Classic has officially arrived is that it's been DDoSed for 2 days in a row now.
So stupid. I'd be so mad.
Well, that's just the way it goes, I guess. See, I think it's the same. Someone DDoSed Wikipedia and WoW Classic yesterday, and WoW Classic again today.
How do you feel about people clearing like endgame content already?
Doesn't bother me at all. That's actually something I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up. I'll try to cover it quickly. So back in the day, there was no social media. Nobody was really following Warcraft Online too much. So Ragnaros and Onyxia went down on Saturday. So 5 days after the game launched, the game's current content had been cleared, right? And I see people like mentioning that and going, "Oh, this sucks. The game's been cleared." And I can't relate to that because it literally, I wasn't going to be world first, and neither was that guy. Why would he care? You know what I mean? Like, the accomplishment is for you to clear it, not someone else to clear it. And I didn't know who cleared world first back in 2004. Like, you just didn't know those things now. I think social media is great. I think modern internet and the social media and how we're connected is great. I think sometimes it really hurts us. Like, we're just comparing ourselves to everyone else so much that someone clearing classic WoW's content in the first week ruined your experience. That's so foreign to me.
They didn't share that stuff on the forums back then for the servers, because for like Lineage, one of the raid bosses that got released, it took 2 years for it to get cleared, and we didn't know until someone just happened to go into the other server forums and see like, oh crap, this clan on this server cleared it and they're the first, and then it kind of just filtered over to all the other server forums.
Well, Blizzard didn't. I don't think Blizzard did officially. I mean, server forums might have had announcements on them. I know that like you knew who cleared what on your server, and maybe like the cutting edge. Maybe if you were like a top 50 raid guild back in Classic, maybe you knew then too. You probably did, but like probably 90% of the WoW community had no idea when a boss went down for the first time.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Now, are there, for the WoW Classic, I mean, this may not be a thing that's happening right now, but back then, did they have people that would go back into like low-level zones to do griefing of new players and stuff like that for PvP?
I mean, it probably happened more back in 2004 than it is now.
I was gonna say, because it sounds a little polite, because in Lineage, like we would keep our beginning gear and our beginning bows and stuff, and we would go back and we would grief the shit out of people. I mean, we would just like player kill the hell out of everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of world PvP now, and probably some of it isn't happening because there aren't enough people who are max level, and people are trying to get there as fast as they can, I guess. So to go back and grief is just a distraction. But like I went and got there's like an iconic warrior quest in Classic at level 30. You can get it to get what's called a whirlwind weapon, and it's such a powerful weapon. You keep it for like 15 levels, which is unheard of for a melee weapon. But there's a very long and involved quest to get the weapon, and I did get griefed a little bit on that quest by I was level 30. And there was a shadow priest that was like level 42, and he followed me. He found me everywhere I went to do this quest. He had to have known what I was doing, so he was like looking out for me. So he did camp me for a long time, but I actually enjoyed it because I was calling in like backup. I was calling people in general chat saying, "Hey, there's a level 42 Shadow Priest here camping the mobs for Whirlwind. I'm going to need some help." And I had people come help me. And then it started up a larger scale PvP battle. And even though I wasn't getting my quest done, it was super fun because we were just going back and forth.
Now, is the PvP in that game like if there are enough people that show up against someone that's 10 levels higher, they able to actually fight them?
Oh yeah, if you like,
see Lineage, they broke it to the sense that later in the game when they introduced the 80 level range, they broke it. So if you're less than 2 levels, like if you're 2 levels greater or so, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to kill that person. So if a 79 goes after an 81, it's not going to happen. It's not feasible to kill them.
Gotcha. That's interesting. I mean, that probably adds a different dynamic to it.
A horrible dynamic, basically, is what it was, because it would end up like one person level 81 could clear, a group of, mid to high 70s, because they're just pretty much untouchable, because they would have one AoE spell that could just wipe them.
Right. It's not like that in WoW Classic, but there's a lot of skill involved too. Like that Shadow Priest was very good. He was really good. And there's a lot of rock, paper, scissors involved too. Like Shadow Priests are just strong in PvP in Classic. They're really strong, regardless of what level they are. I mean, it took 4 or 5 of us to kill him, and we were only 11 levels below him. We had actually one guy was like the same level as him, and 1-on-1 he was kicking this warrior's butt. He was just beating the hell out of him. But other things matter, like your gear. Like when I finished that quest to get the whirlwind weapon, I went from barely being able to beat people my level to walking through people 5-6 levels above me.
I think that's one other thing that was appealing for a lot of people that moved from Lineage to WoW back then, is when WoW came out, there was a lot more diversity in weapons and equipment and stuff like that, where in Lineage, when you hit 52, you have a choice between 2 different types of gear. Like that's it. You're going to take Avalon or Blue Wolf, and that's about it. That's all you got. And then when you hit max level, you have like 3 types to pick from, and it really isn't going to deviate any further from that.
Yeah, it seems kind of limited.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But I know that when WoW came out, I know it picked up a lot of Lineage players, a lot of Dark Age of Camelot players, a lot of Star Wars Galaxy players. You had your holdovers, your holdouts from EverQuest 2 and EverQuest, because they were so invested in the game. But what's weird is that WoW was like the baby game back then. It was the casuals MMO, and now Classic WoW is the hardcore MMO. It's so weird.
It's kind of funny that way, though. Yeah, we saw it as, the Care Bear casual MMO, and then, now it's the hard one to go back and play, because everything else is just eased up in such a dramatic way.
And I'll tell you what, whoever decided on WoW's dev team, on their art team, decided we're not going to go for the realism. Like EverQuest 2 went for realism, Star Wars Galaxy kind of went for realism, and WoW was like, no, we're going to stylize our game. We're going to make it more quote unquote cartoony. And it stood the test of time, and it still looks as appealing now as it did then, because they didn't go for that hyper-realism. I would kind of compare it to Borderlands. Like Borderlands 1 is still a great-looking game because they went stylized. They went for that comic book, like cartoonish look, and it still looks good and plays well.
Yeah, I mean, so long as you appreciate the style of it. That's one thing I've never liked about WoW, is the way it looks. I've always considered it pretty ugly. I mean, I've played a good bit of Cataclysm, I think is the one that I really played the most of, but I could not get over the visuals for it. Like
the cartoonish nature of it?
Yeah, I was never a big fan of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I can totally understand that. You have to buy into how the game. I mean, it's a video game. You have to like how it looks. It's hard to get past that.
Yeah, that was a big thing, and I don't know. And at the same time, I was kind of like, I think I played a rogue at the time, and it just seems kind of busted as how powerful rogues were, especially in PvP, because I played Battlegrounds a lot, and I was just like, rogues seem broken. Like they need to fix this class. I shouldn't be able to do this kind of damage to people.
And you can always pick. You get to choose your battles as a rogue, so for the most part. So if you're at a disadvantage, it's probably your fault.
Yeah, more likely. How many hours have you put into it so far?
I can actually look. I don't want to guess.
I want you to guess, and then I want you to tell us the real number.
I'm going to say 3 days, 10 hours
Of playtime?
of playtime, yeah. Some of that's AFK, but I'm going to look. It's nothing. I mean, like, I know life to or vanilla WoW. 3 days, 11 hours, 53 minutes. That was pretty close.
Yeah.
But if I would say back in 2010 or 2009, if I / played on my priest pet, it was over 365 days. I know that.
Jeez.
And I basically went to work, played WoW 3 hours a night, raided. It was just I just played a lot.
Yeah, MMOs were life back then. I mean, it was pretty much not working, then playing some type of MMO.
And at the time, like, I had just gotten out of the military, and like, I went from playing a lot of not intramural sports, but like basically intramural sports. The military's equivalent. We played flag football, softball, all the time. I always had commitments after work in the military to getting out, and I was like, well, this is my sport now. Like, because people used to break my balls about it, and I'd be like, well, it's just like having to leave work, not early, but get out of work, go grab something to eat, and get to your bowling league or whatever you do. It's the same thing.
Yeah. It's a team of people doing something, they're on time, you're holding everyone else up.
Right. Like today.
Yeah, Joe.
But it's been a blast so far. I think people are having fun. And I think we'll have the people that were tourists, they'll leave, and they'll be, I'm going to throw a number out there. There'll be about 1 million players still playing Classic consistently. And I think that'll be enough to convince Blizzard that it's a worthwhile endeavor to move forward and maybe even alter retail WoW in some ways.
I think I'd rather them just be like, we're starting from scratch and just go a completely different direction with Classic in the terms of like releasing expansions.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Although, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the roadmap looks like and what they decide to do, and if they're going to try and involve the community in changes, and how far they are going to roll stuff out if they do decide to to really roll out a lot of patches or previous content that they've had.
I think they've shown their hand. There are some tweets and interview responses where they say, if the community wants it, we're probably going to do Burning Crusade. Without actually, they kind of haven't said they're going to do it, but they said if the community wants it, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a roadmap at least up to phase 6 right now, it looks like.
Yep.
For some content that they're releasing, which is good. They're thinking ahead, which is nice.
And that all that's fluid in the sense that they have no dates. They have no dates set for any of those phases, and they're kind of going to play it by ear. They're going to feel how the community works their way through some of the content, and then release the phases as it seems.
And of course, making sure it was popular enough to even put the time and resources into the content in the first place, because
right.
Blizzard is a business after all. They don't want to invest all this money into it, and turns out it wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
Sure. And I mean, not only Blizzard is a business, but Activision sure as hell is a business.
Yes, yes. Activision is definitely the business entity.
And there's a lot of speculation about all the old school Blizzard employees kind of leaving the last few years, about how much Activision has had an impact on that.
Yeah, Activision definitely has a role in it. I mean, it's interesting to see if they're coming back to this older content, and I think it's worth their investment for it. I mean, they still invest resources into games like Diablo 3, which, I mean, the player base is pretty much non-existent for that game. So
yeah, it's got as few hardcore players who love playing every season, but it's certainly not as popular as it could have been.
Or, yeah, I mean, the peak of it dropped off within a week or two after its first launch, which is unfortunate because it could have been a really good game, but they just, I don't know, they didn't take the care that they should have.
Well, they took all that development time and put it into the mobile game they're going to release, right?
Well, in that auction house, it ended up becoming Auction House 3 instead of Diablo 3.
Which was terrible. I mean, I think that killed it. Like if they had released the game in its current form, it might have done a lot better. But they lost so many people because of the auction house that I don't think they recovered.
Yeah, most people didn't stick through the auction house phase, and then once they took it out, realizing that the legendary drop is abysmal and there's no in-game content, it got worse. I mean, it was like 3 years of horrible development before it actually started to kind of come back a little bit. And by then, those of us that have been playing it for so long were just kind of like, I don't know, I've played enough of it. It just isn't going to do it for me.
And I play almost every season for like a week, maybe 5-6 days, and then I'm done.
Yeah, that's even if I make it to max level anymore, honestly. Like I may start a character, get like 30 levels in and just log off and never come back to it.
Right.
It's
I actually
hard.
thought that I have a couple friends that are like hardcore PoE players, and it just didn't grab me. Like I think it's a really, really good game. Like, and I can recognize that it's an amazing game, but it just doesn't grab me. And maybe it's the genre. Maybe I've kind of outgrown the genre. I don't want to say outgrown. That's because I'm not like trying to come off as too mature for the genre, but I think I've just grown away from the genre.
I moved from Diablo 3 to PoE for quite a long time. It was probably like a year, and it's really cool. It's very difficult though.
Yep.
And like the systems they have in place are really cool, but it's very difficult in the sense that you never really feel powerful like you do in Diablo. Like you never really hit a point where you really start to feel strong, and then there's just certain times that challenge you. PoE just felt like it was beating my ass all the time, and and no matter what I was doing, what I was gaining, I was never really, getting strong enough to really feel like I was a strong character, and it just, I don't know, it felt demoralizing after a while.
Yeah, it is the more difficult for sure. And PoE is like a theory crafter's dream, whereas Diablo 3, you can kind of hop in and just look at all the talents and go, okay, this build will work. PoE, there's so many different ways to build a character, and so many ways to build a character so they're bad, and so many ways to build them so they're amazing.
I think that's one of the things that's almost off-putting about PoE 2 is you end up with that, like decision anxiety, trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I put my points into? How do I build out this tree? And you end up spending more time looking into builds than actually in the game building. And if you're not into theory crafting, then it's almost overwhelming to play it.
Yep. For me to play PoE and start from scratch and just come up with a build on my own, not happening. I am 100% the person who goes, all right, I'm going to go find a build and just copy that.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the best build I can do with the Templar here? Okay, that's what people are doing. That's what I'm going to do. Let's do that. We're going to see how it works. Where did Pat go?
I don't know. We heard an alarm go off earlier.
Yeah, that was me.
We didn't know if we were burning the house down.
Out of the smoke detectors are so sensitive, they went crazy.
I had to mute while Britt complained about having to be quiet.
Complained about having to be quiet.
Yeah. She's like, I can't be quiet anymore.
Go be loud in the hallway.
I was like, go in the room. I can't hear anything in the room. Like, it's fine. Like, I can hear you, but the mic doesn't pick it up. Then she just started to open a really loud cookie bag. Right in front.
I'm kind of disappointed you guys didn't talk about your cats today.
I got nothing to say about my cats, man. I mean, like, they're good boys. Schmidt and Echo have become the best of buds.
What's weird is that you guys are like the cat dudes. Like, you guys are the cat lovers, per se. I'm more of a dog guy, but I have 4 cats. You guys only have, 2 and 1?
Yep, 2 and 1. Although I will say there's conversations around my house about getting a dog.
Oh.
It's been coming up more and more frequently as of late.
See, now, I thought you didn't like dogs. Whatsoever.
I'm not a fan of dogs. Yeah, I'm not a fan of dogs. Liz is a dog person. She's owned dogs pretty much her whole life, so she would like a dog, but I'm like, I don't know. The moment it licks me, I'm going to be pretty upset about it.
Alex didn't like any animals, and now he has a cat and a dog, and he fucking loves both of them.
I love dogs and cats. I'm more of a dog person, but I'm interested, Chris, what specifically about dogs don't you like?
Licking. It's
Licking?
specifically licking. 100%. That's the biggest thing for me. If I go to someone's house, they have a dog, and that dog tries to lick me, I'm like, I don't like this dog. Please don't lick me.
So if dogs didn't lick, like if that was if that one thing, like if that just wasn't a thing, they were like cats in that aspect, they don't lick you. Would you then be like, yeah, let's get a dog? What the fuck ever, I don't care.
I mean, I don't know if I'd jump on it that quickly, but I'd be much more open to it than that. Yeah. I mean, I'm humoring the idea of it just because it's like, so she wants a pug is what she's thinking. And I'm like, okay, that's a
No.
relatively small animal, which is fine. And but the only thing that sucks is like working from home. Okay, who really takes care of the dog? It's gonna be me.
I love how you got a little quiet there when he said, like, who really takes care of the dog?
Yeah. In the kitchen. It's gonna be me.
Weirdly enough, one of our cats is a licker. Like, this cat licks people.
Ugh. I mean, Houdini's licked me a couple times before, and I'm always like, stop, don't do that. You know I hate
Don't
that.
fucking touch me.
Get out the bed. Leave me alone. Get out the bed.
Like, our cat, he's got a really original name. His name is, one of our cats is Frisky, and if he is allowed in the bedroom in the morning while we're sleeping for whatever reason, like let's say we didn't close the door, while he'll push his way in, and he will lick us to wake us up to try to get us to feed him.
Oh my goodness. Houdini just stands on top of me until I feed her in the morning.
Yeah, he does that too. But
Our cats sit right next to you and just go "Meow, meow," over and over until you fucking get up and feed them.
Yeah, Houdini makes no noise. She'll just stand either right next to you or on top of you, and she'll just sit there and just stare at you until you get up. And then she's like, all right, let's go. She doesn't make any noise. She's relatively quiet.
So I'm going to change the topic away from cats here, from just pets in general, because I am curious. I wanna hear you guys talk beer, because you're both beer guys. I want to know how that lines up for the two of you.
it's beer. I mean, I
Don't
Chris,
give me
are
that
you-
shit, Joe. It's beer.
As a vegan,
No, it's not beer.
are you limited in what beers you can drink?
What was that?
As a vegan, are you limited in the beers that you can drink?
I mean, I'm not necessarily vegan, and technically, I mean, if I followed what I should be following, then beer would be off the menu entirely. Any alcohol would be off the menu, but I'm not ready to make that sacrifice with my life. I tried to make that sacrifice where I was like, you know what, I'm cutting beer out, and I think it was like a month in. I'm like, this is stupid. What am I doing this for?
Why am I doing this?
I actually think I could cut beer out, and the only reason is because I don't drink to get drunk. I don't even really drink to get a buzz. I just drink because the beer that I drink, I really love the taste of it. So
Yeah.
I'm not like chemically reliant upon alcohol, but I just like the taste of the beer that I like.
Yeah, I
So
drink for flavor. Definitely
Yeah.
not. I mean, if I was drinking just to get fucked, then it would just be like Bud Light, Michelob Ultra all the time or something like that. But it's all craft beer because I go to the store and I'm like, I don't think I've ever had that before, and I'll buy it and I'll try it, and I'm like, okay, maybe I could do this, or maybe I hate it.
Do you have a preferred
Depends.
style?
Not really. I would say that there's a style that I tend to stray away from, which is usually like porters and stouts. I tend to not drink those because,
Gotcha.
in my experience, they're just so heavy, and they're just like so dense. I feel terrible after drinking them.
Right.
So I tend to, and oftentimes they tend to mix peanut butter, and I hate the taste of peanut butter. So they tend to put peanut butter in stouts,
Yep.
and I can't stand that. Kind of grosses me out a little bit. So I think normally I lean towards like wheat beers, lagers, or IPAs more than anything else.
Gotcha. I can drink a porter or stout. It depends. I don't like any beer that's super sweet. So if it's hyper
Like a
sweet
dessert
beer,
beer.
yeah, I'm just not. Which is weird because all the IPAs I really love are the New England style IPAs, and they're tropical, and they're muted as far as hoppiness or bitterness. They're very hoppy, just not as bitter. But a lot of them aren't sweet per se, and it's when you get into like the super sweet porters and the super sweet stouts where I'm just like grossed out by it. And even the high alcohol content, like once you get up into like 11, 12, 13%, some of the triple IPAs I've tried, I'm just like, it's just too sweet, man. It's too sweet.
Yeah. What'd you say, Pat?
Do either of you like sours?
I love sours.
Yeah, I have more of a taste for sours than I had previously. It's probably something I've tried a lot over the last 2 years, and I've developed more of a palate for.
See, I don't like most beer, but I like sours because they have that more of a sweet taste to them compared to that bitterness. Because I hate bitter tasting things.
They're definitely more tart, and they've got like a salty. A lot of them have a saltier.
I'm sorry, say again. You cut out there.
They're definitely more tart than regular beer, but a lot of them have like a salty little tinge on the end.
Yeah, I've kind of ruined him with beer a little bit because we would go out to drink or we would go out to eat together when I lived up there, and I would get like the highest IBU beer on the menu, and I'd be like, drink this just to see his reaction.
Now, don't get me wrong. I can grab like a West Coast style IPA that has like 120 IBU and enjoy the hell out of it. Like the bitterness doesn't. I've just gotten used to it. I bet you the first time I had a bitter like IPA, I was probably like, "Oh, this is gross." Yeah. But now that I've like really drank them, I kind of appreciate the different flavors in them.
Different nuances. Yeah, it's like anything. I mean, the more you do it, the more of a palate you get for it, and the easier it is, and the better it is, and kind of the more you appreciate it. At least that's what I keep telling myself when it comes to things like durian. But
it's similar to me with wine. Like when I first tried like a really super dry red wine, I was like, this is disgusting. It tastes like death. Who would drink this? And I was so grossed out. Now for me to go out to dinner or for me to have a bottle of wine at home, I'm going for the
ridiculous. Sorry. My girlfriend brought a beer in and put it on my desk and was like, here, drink this.
For me to drink wine now, I prefer like hyper dry reds that like you feel it in your face when you drink it.
We have that in common. I prefer reds that are so dry that I feel like I'm just eating chalk, or like I'm doing the cinnamon challenge.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I want in a wine.
I want it to hurt my cheeks. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah, if I drink it and I'm like, oh, I can't separate my tongue from from the roof of my mouth. I'm like, yes, that's the wine I want.
I'm the same way as wine, as far as wine goes.
I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, give me that juice.
Give me that grape juice.
It's exactly what I want. No, I don't mind dry wines. I would rather drink a very dry wine than a very bitter beer.
At least for now. You just don't have the palate yet. You just have to drink more of them, that's all.
Look, Chris, I know that you are gone from my life, but anytime there's someone who is drinking a beer, I'll still taste it. I'm always up to taste stuff. I mean, whenever Joe was up here and we got the tree house,
I did crack one with you. I think you were being polite and you were like, it's not bad.
No, I will stick to that. If it was gross, Joe, yeah, I would have been polite in the time. But I'd be honest about it now. But like, it really wasn't that bad. It was. If I had to drink another one, I could choke it down. I'd be fine. I wouldn't want to die the whole time.
Like, you just gotta give him a decision of like, you have to drink this beer or you have to drink this durian smoothie that we're gonna buy, and he'll drink the beer 100%.
I don't know, man. I would maybe drink the durian. Some of those beers that you made me taste, Chris, I would take the durian smoothie over.
I will say this: the only beers that I don't enjoy are, I won't say the only, but the popular beers that I don't enjoy in the craft community are all the rage now is anything bourbon barrel aged. I'm not a huge fan of bourbon. Yeah.
Oh, I hate it. I like whiskey, but I don't know what it is about. Bourbon barrel beers. It just tastes gross to me. Yeah, that's a style I'm not a big fan of.
There's a brewery near like 20 minutes away from my house, Omegang. They do like the beers for the Game of Thrones official beers, all this stuff. Anyways, they have a beer called Three Philosophers, which is it's a triple, which is why it's called Three Philosophers. It's a triple, and it's one of my favorite beers. But they also make a bourbon barrel-aged Three Philosophers that I picked up about 6 years ago, and I kept it for 3 years. I cellared it, and I opened it on Thanksgiving, and thinking that the bourbon would fall off, because that's really what it's supposed to do. The bourbon's supposed to fade as you age it. And it's a beer that I love. I love this beer, but when I poured it on Thanksgiving, I drank it. I'm like, all I taste is bourbon. I don't like this beer, and it's my favorite beer, and I don't like it because it's been aged in bourbon barrels.
Yeah, that'll
What
do it.
is it supposed to, I don't know, sweeten it or something? Like what?
You get the flavor of the oak and the bourbon, and it's supposed to add like a vanilla flavor, but not because they put vanilla in it, just because that's like the flavor profile.
I like how you guys can drink a beer and like break it down. Like, I can taste the hazelnut and the yada yada. And I drink a beer and I'm just like, bleh!
Some people have
nothing but gross.
Some people have crazy, just like anybody who's talented at anything, have exceptional palates. Like they can just drink something or taste something and be like, and break it down into its individual flavors. I can't do that. I've only picked up flavors because I've tried so many beers. It's learned for me. It's not like a talent. It's not.
Yeah, for me as well. It's the same where it's like I've just drank enough beer that I know what flavor I'm tasting. Whereas my girlfriend doesn't drink a lot of beer. In fact, she almost never even finishes a beer. Thus, why I have half a beer on my desk. I'm already drinking one anyway, so now I have another beer to drink. But for her, like if I give her something and she tries it, she can actually break down what she tastes in individual flavors, and I'll like read the label and be like, "Well, shit, I didn't know that was in there."
Nailed it.
Well, what the fuck? So that's what happens we just got this Magic Hat IPA over the weekend that I thought she would enjoy some of them, and she's like, I don't know, there's like it tastes like a lemon and a grapefruit in it, and I'm like reading the label, I'm like, there is grapefruit in there. I didn't know that. I didn't taste that.
Yeah, I don't have a great palate. Naturally, it's just an experience more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that with any food or drink. I'm just like, yep, put it in my mouth, enjoy the taste, and swallow it down.
This is beer we're talking about, right?
I'm talking about anything I consume, okay? Anything.
All right, we should get on to some gaming news. Now we've talked about beer. I mean, granted, the whole first half was literally just about WoW, so...
I mean, we've been in here for over an hour now, basically just talking about.
I'm assuming you're gonna have to trim that segment down.
No, I'm just gonna leave it as is. Honestly, I'm just gonna leave it as is. It's just gonna be a longer episode.
Yeah, he doesn't really edit a whole lot of stuff out.
I really don't. I like how authentic it is. I used to edit out all the breathing and stuff in between people, but now I'm just like, fuck it. People breathe. They get it. So I'm just gonna leave it. Houdini, do not get on top of my computer.
Thing I hate about other podcasts is I don't know if they're breathing or not.
Are they still breathing? Like robots. So we got a couple different things on the news here. So EA made it into the Guinness Book of World Records over the weekend.
Had to have been good.
Actually, they've been in there for a little while because of Star Wars Battlefront 2, I think it was. Pat, do you know why they're in the record books?
Yeah. Yep. What would you want me to say? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, it's because they have the most downvoted Reddit thread of all time.
What a great thing to have. I don't think there's a company out there more deserving than EA. Maybe Activision.
How is that a category?
I mean, Guinness just tracks everything, I guess.
Well, I mean, they probably have had to evolve their categories, and they probably have things now, different internet categories, and most hated thing on the internet or something like that has to be in there. Like Rebecca Black's Friday was probably top dog for quite a while.
Can you imagine the Guinness, being a Guinness employee and you were put into a time capsule in 1990, and they wake you up in 2019, and you're like the most downvoted Reddit thread record. What?
So apparently, though, they actually, in the new publication of the book, EA has its own 1 or 2 pages of things that they have records for, and that's just one of the things on the page.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah, pretty interesting. So that got posted on a Star Wars Reddit, and I think it has 100,000 upvotes or something now circulating. It's become quite popular, so that's fun.
Put that one on the wall, Guinness.
Yeah.
Hang it on the mantle. Or
Maybe
not get us, but
Activision will
EA.
come after it. Yeah, maybe Activision will try and come after it, but I think EA is going to hold on to it for a little bit because the second most downvoted, because it's like 680,000 downvotes, I think, and the second most on Reddit is less than 100,000. So they're handily taking that trophy right now. So good for them. Let's see. For tech side, I mean, Apple has a conference on the 10th, which is Tuesday. So there's going to be a new fucking iPhone or 3, maybe 5. I don't know. So I just figured I'd throw that out there. Granted, by the time this episode goes out, it's already happened. So who the fuck cares?
Have you seen the new design leak?
The triple camera design that they're going to do?
Yeah, it's like the quad. It's like a big square on the back.
Are they doing a quad camera? I thought they were doing a triple. I have to look now.
It's kind of hideous.
Let's look here.
Yeah, I thought it was a triple camera. Oh, I see. So is it 3 cameras and then the flash? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's
got
to
quad
be
design.
Triple camera and then the flash. Yeah,
that is ugly, dude. What the fuck? That's gross.
It's gonna sell like hotcakes, though. It's gonna do well.
I would have rather
do
that
every
been in
year.
a line, like a vertical line. I think that would have been more aesthetically pleasing.
Well, I think they've done that too, honestly. I mean, I'll watch it like I do every year. Well, I won't watch the press, but I'll watch like the highlights like I do every year just to see what they do.
I won't enjoy it.
Yeah, I won't. Well, I don't know. I kind of get enjoyment out of it. I watch it. I'm like, that's silly. Look at what they did this year. Look at all those people lined up to spend money on this. It's great. I love it.
I'm not a big Apple fan. I'm not a fanboy of any particular phone company. It is jarring, that design, though.
Yeah, that's an ugly design. And like I've always thought that Apple, killed it with the design. I always thought that their phones were the best looking, but that's disgusting. I don't like that at all.
To me, they were always simple and sleek.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked that. I don't like this. In fact, I feel assaulted. I should be compensated for having to fucking look at
Well,
this.
that's probably just one model of the iPhone this year. They'll have another 3 that they're going to release, and they won't have all those cameras or something. They got to hit every, kind of demographic now. So they have to release like 3 new phones a year at this point.
Yeah, they'll definitely have multiple models.
They got the high end, the mid, and then the poor people phone. I got the poor people one.
Mm-hmm. That's what they'll do. And that one's only going to get 1.5 cameras.
1.5 camera? Oh, damn it!
One is just half a lens with a flash on the bottom.
It's the full lens, but there's no actual meat to it. It doesn't actually work.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's weird. I don't mean to tangent. Is the big thing in cell phones has been getting rid of the notches and the bezels, right? And the struggle has been, what do we do with the front-facing camera? And I'm like one of those people that it's like they could get rid of it, and I would never notice.
Yeah, they've been trying to figure out a way to obviously get it underneath the screen, which is challenging to do. But I'm with you. Like, you could get rid of it. I mean, honestly, you could get rid of the cameras in general. I don't use them on my phone. That's one piece of, if they came out with a phone that was like, hey, we have this model, but then we've got a model without cameras that's exactly the same, I'd be like, give me that one. I don't need the damn camera. I'm not going to use it.
Here's this amazing phone minus the cameras, and it's $300 less. I'm all over it.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll take it. I'll take 2 actually, just to prove to you that I need it. Yeah, although I do like what they're doing with the so the fingerprint sensors. They used to be on the back, but now they're coming out with the under the screen fingerprint sensors, and I do love that. I think that's pretty cool.
I like it. The only thing I don't like about it is it isn't as secure, so I can't use it for payments and things like that. But once they get that worked out, I'm sure that's just a matter of time. Yeah,
it's still pretty new, I think. So it's just a matter of time before they get it worked out, and it'll be good to go. It's neat though. I like it. I like the way they came up with to do it. I mean, the notch stuff doesn't really bother me that much, honestly. The phones are so massive compared to what they used to be. It's just kind of like, I'm not particularly attached to my phone, so I don't know. I don't really care that much.
Have you seen Asus's new phone?
The ROG?
Yeah.
I think they just finalized their ROG 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It hasn't released yet. Like
their gaming phone. What's that?
Linus got one with all the accessories.
Did he? Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw his video. I just hadn't watched it because I was like, do I really want to know about this phone? I'm not sure.
I do, because I'll never get it. Like, I like to see other people with it because I'm like, I want to know what it's about. It doesn't serve a purpose for me, but it's still cool technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's neat. It's a gaming focused phone, but at the same time, it's like mobile gaming really isn't that good. Although
No,
on that note, I mean, there's people that play RuneScape. There is an article out there about a person leveling their priest in WoW
WoW,
Classic
yeah.
on their phone,
I saw that.
which is pretty
I'm
funny.
not the mobile gaming target audience either. So
Yeah, I'm not going to be getting that Diablo Immortals or whatever it is. Nice
No.
try, Blizzard.
What you don't got a phone?
Nope, sadly I don't. I'm going to break it right before the release of that.
what a moment in history that was.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
They
So
are
what?
fucking arrogant.
They're ridiculous. So there are rumors about Splinter Cell kind of resurfacing, mostly because the Splinter Cell, like the goggles that everybody knows, they actually, like, a replica is at GameStop now for sale out of nowhere. Like, that's kind of random. So rumors are out there that maybe there's a new Splinter Cell game coming out, which I'd be okay with.
Well, I wonder if that's because aren't they releasing a Tom Clancy game that like has John Bernthal in it?
No idea.
Let me see.
So I'm not a Clancy gamer. What was the difference between Splinter Cell and Rainbow Six? The series.
Splinter Cell is a lot more about stealth and
Gotcha.
sneaking around, and like.
Well, Splinter Cell is one individual. The Rainbow Six series is typically tactical with a full team.
Gotcha.
That's the one thing, because typically in Splinter Cell you control one person doing the whole operation yourself, whereas in all the other Splinter, like Rainbow Six and all those, you typically control a team or you're with a team. So that's the biggest thing for those.
Although they did have that one Splinter Cell that was co-op.
Yeah, they had that one, which co-op. Chaos
The-
Theory.
The only reason I know about that one is because of Donkey.
I love Donkey. Chris doesn't like Donkey.
Yeah,
He's
not a
not a
fan.
Doesn't do it. Which I get that. I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, how can you not find this guy hilarious? Like, it's like I get that his humor isn't for everyone, but it's just that I find him so hilarious that I just don't get how other people can't find him hilarious. Like at the same time, if that makes sense.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I've got specific YouTubers that I like, and I don't see how other people don't like them, but it is what it is. Yeah, I've never been a fan of his humor, and I think I watched him talk about oh shit, what was that game that got remade where they chased down the giants and you ride a horse? Fuck, what was that called? Shadow of the Colossus. And he was talking about how horrible the new one was. And I'm like, that's the whole intention of the design. Like, they made it intentionally difficult to control because that's part of the game. Like, that's just how it's supposed to be. And he didn't seem to get that in the video that he was playing. And I was like, I can't watch this.
Well, now, he does have a video about game reviewers and about how even though he doesn't like certain games that certain people love and he doesn't get like the why they're good, he said, at least I'm consistent and well, that's just a style of game that Donkey doesn't like. And he's like, I don't like reviewers who are fake. He actually kind of addressed that in one of his videos, I think.
Yeah, I've watched that one.
Fake as in they're not objective, or what do you
Fake
mean?
as in they're like, wow, every game is good. Oh,
Right.
man.
Yep.
I see. I didn't know if you meant fake as in like they can't be objective, or they're stealing content from other creators, like they did with I think it was what was it, Kotaku or some other person did that not too long ago. No, I don't think it was Kotaku, but some guy.
IGN.
Oh, it was IGN,
Someone who
that guy
worked
that
for
stole the
IGN.
Dead Cells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like almost word for word.
Never apologized until like a year went by, and then he's finally like, I'm remorseful for what I did. And everyone's like, fuck you.
It is a weird industry, though, because like, how do you everything gets an 8 out of 10 or better, or well, maybe not that high, but like a 7 out of 10 or better now. How do you make decisions now?
Well, the problem
You
is
just gotta
there's no
plan.
real metric. Like, there's no real way to create a solid scale that everyone can judge by. And so
Right.
everyone's just judging arbitrarily based on their own scale internally. So when IGN says 8 out of 10 and GameSpot says 9 out of 10, like, does that mean they're the same fucking thing? That they're judging by the same scale? Like, no, not at all.
Right.
It's arbitrary nonsense. Really, what needs to happen is there needs to be some type of scale that everyone can agree on, and it's like, this is how we review games, and then like, this is our understanding, and part of that score is our own individual preference towards the game or our own likes and dislikes. But at least some of the score is going to kind of go towards something that you can actually measure or some type of metric. Otherwise, it's just arbitrary nonsense. So it's like, pick your poison, find one of the game companies that you like, be it Kotaku or whatever, and just watch the review. And if you like what they have to say about it, then maybe you'll like it. Don't pay too much attention to the score otherwise.
And I used to like rely on Metascores, right? But then game review bombing has become a thing now.
Yep.
I hate
Which,
that.
I mean, I still look at Metascores to an extent. It kind of depends, because I want to see, how much different is the user score from the publisher score.
Mm.
And obviously, I want to see what the users are saying when they play it. Is it just review bombing, that kind of thing? Or are they actually bringing up really good points of things that I'm like, I would read it and I'd be like, ooh, that would annoy the shit out of me too. I don't want that. So I don't know. There's certain games where they're not even on my radar usually, and it's just one good review that kind of tilts me over the edge. That's what happened with Dragon Quest. I'd never played any, and then I saw that like 40-minute Kotaku review, and I was on board 100%, bought it that day. I was like, I need to play it.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was my favorite game of last year, without
Was
a
that
doubt.
that JRPG, like retro style art?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's very much like a classic JRPG with turn-based combat and stuff like that.
Bunch of just different storylines, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a good one. There was a content after you finish the main story that actually ended up being the end of the main story without it telling you. So I had to go back and finish it, like the rest of it this year. I was like, this is good. It's good stuff. It was like 60 hours. It was well worth the money. But I didn't know anything about it until I saw that review, and just his enthusiasm in the review. I was like, man, I need to consider this game.
So speaking of games, you guys tried Divinity Original Sin 2 together, and you guys didn't like it?
Hated it.
Yeah, wasn't a fan. I think it's almost too RPG for me, which sounds weird, but I feel like that's what it was. Like, it was so content and dialogue driven
Gotcha.
and role playing that I was like, this is going to be a time sink, and it might be a little more than I want to put into it.
Makes sense.
Have you played it?
I did. I played it. I really enjoyed it, but I loved it, but also I've never finished it because I don't have the time to finish it.
Because it's like that much of a time sink.
Yeah, and it's so there's a lot of depth there, and
Yeah, it felt dense. I mean, just we put like maybe an hour into it, and just that hour we're just like, oh fuck, what are we doing? Oh no.
and things can kill you the very first fight you're into. You're like, it's not
Yeah,
like
I think we got to the first town and we took off running out the side of the town and got into a fight and both died, and we're like, okay, I think we're done.
Yeah. Well, we both died, but where I died, like, I couldn't get back without continuously dying over and over.
nice.
And I was like, well, fuck this, Chris. I'm done. And you're like, yeah, me too. This is stupid.
I'm glad it was on sale.
Did you guys play the first one?
No.
Gotcha.
Mm-mm.
We went in relatively blind.
Yeah, we were just looking for something to play together, and we had just kind of decided on that. I think we were looking at The Forest and Rust and a couple other things, but ultimately decided on that. That was one of the scenarios where the overwhelming reviews like skewed what we thought we would enjoy. So it's like, oh, it's overwhelmingly positive. We should try this, and it turns out, yeah, not for us.
And that's just it. It's a genre game combo that's just not for you guys, because it is an amazing game. It's wildly popular. you guys mentioned Rust. That's super popular with its core. I've never played that game, but I know it's super popular with the people that play it.
I like the donkey video on Rust. That one's hilarious.
I've got a coworker from Maine that runs a server in Rust every whatever their seasons or their monthly server releases, and he's obsessed with it. And he's like an IT guy, but that's his hobby outside of work is Rust, and they get into raids and large scale PvP. I know he likes it. It's not a game for me, I don't think, but
yeah, I think another problem I had with Divinity was the camera angle, which sounds like so small and nitpicky, but I don't know, man. It bugged the shit out of me.
Like that isometric.
Yeah,
45?
like Diablo was like similar, but it's like it was just enough different that I was like, I hate this.
Yeah, it is. It is very similar.
It's customizable. You can swing it around, change the angles.
It's too late now.
I didn't know that.
I'm not trying to sell it to you. I know you don't like it. So.
No, it's too late, man. I'm booting it up now.
Yeah, reinstalling. That's funny. So, Pat, you did pick your character for Friday?
Yeah, I'm gonna
100%.
play
You're
Zane.
100% on Zane. So, how did you decide that you're going to play Zane? Like, what happened?
I watched quick little just quick summary videos of the characters. Like nothing too in depth. I don't want to know your skill trees. I don't want to know like anything like that. I like to discover that as I go. But I didn't want to sit in the menu, for 2 fucking hours on Friday trying to figure out what I want to do because picking my character takes me forever. It always does. And just through watching the little videos, I just liked the play style of Zane, having like your little clone thing, a deployable shield if you want, using your clone, like swapping places with it. I really like that. Like that just seems like his play style's up my alley.
I'm glad you picked something. That way we can actually move forward when the game's ready.
Instead of sitting at character select for 2 hours.
Yeah.
What happened?
Do you guys have your squad yet? Your 4?
No one's hit me up.
I think it's just us. Yeah, I think it's just us so far. I know my friend Joe is going to get it, but I don't think he's going to be off on Friday. So it's like, well, that's too fucking bad because who knows if I'm even going to want to play it anymore after Friday.
Begs is getting it, but he can't take the Friday off to play it with us.
Bummer.
We
don't know.
I guess the pre-release reviews are pretty positive.
Oh, do they have pre-release reviews already? I didn't even look.
I saw something.
I mean, I don't. It's a little too late for me to give a shit now because I've already spent the $100 on the special edition. But
ooh, you pre-ordered and the special edition, huh?
Because I might not play it past day one, but I'm gonna pay extra.
I was showing Pat that I was like, I'm that invested. I'm gonna do it, and so I did it. And I was like, okay, we're gonna play the DLC. I have faith that maybe I'll like it more than one day, and we'll see.
I can't.
Are you gonna get it?
I've still never finished Borderlands 2.
Yeah, me neither.
And I enjoyed that game. And talk about like one of the great all-time antagonists is Handsome Jack. He was awesome. Like he was just amazing.
I love Handsome Jack. He was such a good villain.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why I never finished it. I think we talked about this a little bit before. I think I liked the characters in Borderlands a lot better. Yeah, the classes in Border.
Mm-hmm. Which I think that's one of the reasons I was okay to pre-order because between Zane and Flack, I mean, Zane by itself was enough to kind of get me the pre-order, but then seeing Flack and his skill set, I was like, I'm on board, 100%. Let's go. So it definitely seemed right up my alley on the classes on this one. So because that was the biggest thing. I was like, the story is going to be pretty good regardless. Am I going to like the character I'm playing? Am I going to like the skills I have to deal with, for that 40, 50 hours. Because I'm like, if the story's good, that's not going to be enough if I'm sitting there like, oh, yeah, let me use this shit skill again. Look at me, I'm fucking garbage.
Did Borderlands 2 drag for either of you guys? I think it hit a point in the story where it kind of dragged a little bit, and I just never went back to it.
It didn't for me. But I'm also not the right one to ask because I just fucking love Borderlands.
Right.
I didn't make it that far, honestly. I don't think I made it that far in before. I was
You
just
didn't
like,
make
this
it
is
far
not for
enough.
me.
You hit a
Yeah, and I
drag.
was just like, yeah, it dragged from the boot up. I mean, the beginning is fucking slow as shit. So
I think the other thing Borderlands got me with the first one is that immediately once you got in game, you were fighting bosses like super soon, and you were getting like interesting weapons, purples right away. And I think two it was slower in that regard.
yeah, I think the intro for 2 felt too slow for me, and I just lost interest before I could really even get into the meat of it. Whereas, yeah, 1, I felt like I could jump into it and I was ready to go, and I'd have a little bit of interest up, but before I knew it, I was out and about doing my own thing, and I like that. I don't want my hands, held to that extent that 2 did, because Pat and I tried to play it together, and even through that beginning section, I'm like, oh god, this again. Fuck, like stop talking and walking me around, like just let me do what I want.
Yeah, I think in 1, I would agree. 1, you get into it quicker, and then the world opens up a little faster. 2, for me to go back and play 2, the first couple hours are excruciating because it's on rails for the first hour or so.
Yeah, it was very painful. Well, and for 1, for me, the Dr. Ned like Zombie Island DLC, like that DLC was good enough for me that I would restart Borderlands 1 all the way from the beginning just to go through that again.
Right.
So I was like, I want to play that. I'll start over and I'll get to that and I'll do it again.
I have like a ton of keys in Borderlands 2.
I mean, I'm looking forward to 3 because they're working on the movement system, and now you have sliding and stuff like that. Like, I feel like you can move a little bit faster, and I think that's going to be a really big draw for me because I always felt like you moved a little too slow. Right. So being able to really traverse a little bit quicker, I think is going to be really cool. And then I like the skills with Flak because it kind of brings me back to Borderlands 1 with Mordecai and having the bird Bloodwing. So right. I'm hoping it's similar to that.
Do the golden keys transfer over to Borderlands 3?
I would doubt it, but
no. But they will be doing it again.
Because my Borderlands keys, which I bought in Borderlands 2, also work in Borderlands 1.
Oh, okay, then maybe. If they do, then I have like 200 of them. So part of me doesn't want them to.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It's just a matter of got to get through the week.
Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday. It's gonna be a long fucking week.
What time? Do you know what time on Friday?
Midnight Eastern for us.
Okay, so like Thursday turning into Friday.
Yeah, so if you're like far West Coast, then you could get the game at 9. You could start playing at 9 p.m. West Coast time. Although they are now doing a pre-download, so a preload 48 hours before, which previously they said they were not going to do. Like Tim Sweeney had said from Epic, he had said that they don't have the capability to do it for a game like Borderlands, even though it was listed as a feature that had already shipped on their roadmap. So basically, they were lying about how it was actually out on the Epic Store when it really wasn't, which they've now removed it from the roadmap entirely. And then all of a sudden there was enough kickback that I guess they finally decided to work on it and get it done. So now we can actually do preloading 48 hours before.
Well, that'll be good. You can jump right in instead of having to download it. You guys
yeah, and it's,
play midnight,
I mean, it's
right?
good, but at the same time, it's still kind of like, it's kind of stupid because it's like PlayStation could already do preloads, Xbox could already do preloads, Steam can already do preloads. Like, I get it's a new platform, but really that far behind in some of these features, like, it's getting a little absurd.
Well, I hope you guys have fun. I hope you enjoy it.
Pat will enjoy it 100%. Yeah, it's just a matter of am I going to hate it or not.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have a fucking blast. And I'm going to resist playing it Thursday at midnight. It's going to be really hard for me to resist to wait to get the fresh start with you. But I'm going to do it.
Are you getting up at 6 with me? Is that what you're doing?
Well, 6?
Yeah, because I'm going to be in bed by like 10, so I'll be up at 6 like a normal.
Britt doesn't even get home until 10, dude. I'd still have to eat dinner.
I'll be in bed at 10. I'll be up at 6.
I'll cut you a deal at 7.
I'll be on at 6, and I'll be level 10 waiting for you.
What if you eat dinner before Britt gets home and go to bed? Does she turn into like a gremlin or something?
No, it's a me thing. I just like to eat dinner with my fiance.
Don't eat before 10?
I just like to eat together.
I gotcha. I'm making fun
I mean,
of
you could eat separate and then spend time with her while she eats. You could watch her and judge her eat. You know, that's a thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, like I've tried that. Just gets me in more trouble than good.
Well, I think that's just you in general, honestly. I think you get yourself
Well, I'm
in
not
more
going to
trouble.
change.
I hope she knows that. She agreed to marry you.
Very well aware.
She better know that by now. Everybody else does.
Yep, it's good.
So Pat, last topic here. What is this Death Stranding easy mode nonsense?
Oh, they are. It's literally going to be called like very easy mode, and they are intentionally making the game. It's almost going to be like on autopilot. They're making the game extremely easy because they want people like moviegoers who don't play video games to be able to sit down and enjoy the game because they have such like a star-studded cast on it that they're just trying to appeal to everyone they possibly fucking can. And they're like, oh, you want to come and enjoy Norman Reedus's work because you're such a huge Norman Reedus fan, but you don't play games? Like, you still can.
So instead of like running around being the UPS man, they've made it so the UPS man will run around and do his own thing and you can just watch him?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Pretty much, I guess.
I don't know how I feel about that game. I don't know what to think about it.
It's whatever to me.
I feel like the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, I think I'm out. I don't know. And then I see something like, maybe I'm in? No, maybe I'm out again. I don't know.
Oh, I'm 100% out.
This is not a game I'm going to pre-order. That's for sure.
What genre is this?
I believe it's like the
know.
delivery genre.
We're gonna Google Death Stranding genre. Adventure, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what's
Horror
listed
adventure.
as action adventure is what's considered.
Gotcha.
Nothing to do with horror or horror survival or anything like that. So
Could have fucking fooled me.
yeah, me too. I agree with that. I don't think I'm going to pre-order anything until Final Fantasy VII. Honestly, I think that'll be the last thing. Maybe
Really?
Cyberpunk. Well, there's nothing else that comes out this year that I'm interested in. I mean, Death Stranding doesn't come out until October, November, something like that. And I'm not particularly interested in it, so that's going to be one of those games I need to kind of see how it does before I make a call on it. November 8th. And then, yeah, I don't think anything else comes out until March. I think is when Final Fantasy VII comes out. And then Cyberpunk sometime next year. February, March, April. I don't know.
That's a game I can get into, probably Final Fantasy VII.
Even though it's going to be who knows how many fucking discs long.
They're going to milk how much money out of it.
You might know more about it. Are they remaking the game or are they remastering the game?
It's a remake. It's a remake. They're adding more content to it that had never been done. So the first one that's coming out next year is just in oh shit, what's the area? It's like Midgar, so it's just the Midgar area. So it doesn't actually cover any other section of the game other than just Midgar. And they're releasing I think it was 2 discs. I think 2 Blu-ray discs just for that section. So they're adding a lot of content and really like bringing out the story more than they had previously. But obviously it means they're going to be releasing the game 2, maybe 3 times to cover the rest of it.
Interesting. I did not know
I mean,
that.
it could be really, really good, but at the same time, I'm like, am I going to have to spend like $150 to play the whole game? And not to mention wait who knows how many years to play the full experience? Like, it's going to be insane.
I'll probably still give it a shot. A remaster, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting Final Fantasy VII with updated whatever. A remake kind of scares me a little. Because could they ruin
Remake
it?
scared me because I was worried about the battle system. Like, I was really, really worried about the battle system.
Because Materia was amazing.
Yeah, Materia is amazing, but then they showed the battle system at E3. They showed like a nice 15 to 20 minute video at E3 of what they've done with the battle system, and it was fucking amazing. Like, it was better than I anticipated it being. So I was just like, yes, they're doing even more than I thought they had done with it. And Materia is absolutely still in the game because there's Materia in Cloud's sword. Like, you can see it like slotted into his weapon.
That's cool.
And even they showed the first boss fight with the Scorpion, and it's much more like I don't know, it's way over the top and much more intense and much more involved and more difficult than it ever was before. So it really looks like they're taking it in a really amazing direction. It's just a matter of, am I never going to finish the game until like 2025?
Right.
So is that what I have to wait for?
PS4 exclusive, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be PS4 coming out in March, which I'm kind of surprised because I really thought they would just kind of hold off because, I mean, PS5 is probably going to launch next October, November, right? So I kind of figured why not just hold off and make it a launch title for PS5? That right there would sell consoles by itself.
Sure.
So I'm kind of surprised. I mean, unless they're going to drop a bomb on us next year at E3 and be like, hey, guess what? The next chapter of Final Fantasy Remake is actually coming out with PS5 like in October, November. That would be pretty cool. I'd be on board with that.
I'm not a console guy myself, but I'll probably just steal the Suns. I'm gonna need to borrow this. I know you want a game for the next 3 days, but no, I'm gonna be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. They finally showed Tifa at E3, which everyone had been asking about for a long time. So I don't know. It definitely seems like it's going in the right direction. It's just how long is it going to take to really finish the project? And I think they had interviews come out after E3, and they're like, we don't really know what the time frame of the project completion is going to be.
Right.
So that's a little worrisome.
You know what's weird is they were probably worried about releasing Tifa. It wasn't there like a much to do about the westernization of some of the characters?
Yeah, with like Ares and stuff like that. Yeah, so they were definitely worried about releasing Tifa because there's certain expectations. So they were a little concerned about that.
Not that I want to sympathize with gaming companies at this moment in history, but can you imagine making a game now 25 years ago you made a game, you're like, I'm just trying to make a good game, I want it to be cool, I want it to be fun. Now there's so many other things you got to worry about, like, do they look right, do my characters look right, is this going to offend anyone?
Yeah, am I going to end up in a sexual harassment lawsuit or
right.
Anything like that? Like Cyberpunk even got involved in some criticism recently when they supposedly took genders out of the equation for the customization because they now allow you to be male or female, but then have a female voice with a male body, things of that nature. And so they were being criticized for that. And I'm like, God, you really can't do anything without people having something to say about it.
Somebody's going to be mad, no matter what.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. It's where we live now.
Might as well just make the game you want to make and then just fucking deal with the angry people because you're gonna get them angry either way.
Yeah, well, and I think Last of Us Part 2 is probably coming out next year too. Next year's gonna be a good year.
Hopefully, the new Wolf Among Us comes out next year.
You think so?
I'm just gonna.
Did they say anything about that, or are you just holding
I'm just hoping.
Oh, I see.
That's all.
No real announcement, but you never know what could come of that.
Yeah, I loved it, and I'm really sad that they didn't come out with the part 2 that they had announced and everything. So I'm hoping that with Telltale being bought up, it'll actually happen. Joe, did you play any of the Telltale games?
I played one of the Walking Dead games. I will say this: I respect the art form. I know a lot of people love it. I'm just not into the narrative, interactive games.
Yeah, interactive movies.
Yeah. But I know they're good. I mean, they were popular, and I do know that Telltale got bought. I think people were worried about that company that bought them. They did hire some Telltale employees, but the company that bought them isn't exactly known for being on the consumer side.
That's exactly what I want to hear.
But I mean, I don't know, what could they do to ruin a game like that? I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't even ask that, I guess, but it seems like a pretty simple formula. Tell a good story, right?
Yeah, that really is all it is. Tell a good story and make me feel like my decisions matter. Because that's what I love about it is like the guys that I play with, like Alex and Mitch and Andy for the Walking Dead ones, like we would all play an episode whenever it came out. Like we'd all go to our rooms, play it, wait till we were all done, and then just compare how our stories differed and what decisions we made in these different spots. And Like, it's
Did
fun.
that ever affect the way you played? Did you ever come to a decision and go, well, I think Mitch is going to do this, so I'm going to do that?
No,
Okay.
no. I don't know if it did for anyone else, but I always kept it as genuine as I could. Like, I took those decisions seriously. Like, in the first game and second episode, this is going to be a spoiler, but the game's so old now that what the fuck ever. You have like 10 people in your camp, and you only have like 6 pieces of food, and you have to pick who to feed. And like, I literally paused the game and like had to pace around the house and think about it. And I was like, I don't know what to do. What do I do in this situation? Like, I'm weighing it out. I'm like, all right, well, if I feed this guy, like, he's a friend, so it would keep like it would just grow our bond more. But if I don't feed him, will he be understanding as a friend, or will he be pissed and think I thought I was your friend? What do I do? This guy hates me. If I feed him, maybe he'll like me. And I did that. I fed the guy who hated me, hoping it would get him to like me. It didn't work. He still
Blew up in
hated
your
me.
face.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah.
What was that game you were playing? You were streaming it for a little bit. It was like some chick in some like northern Pacific town. It was in that similar vein, but it was totally like a narrative-based game, and you're making
Life is
choices.
Strange.
Life is
Maybe
Strange, yeah.
Life is Strange. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't you like watched me play it on Steam.
I think I creeped on your Steam or something.
Yeah. You like messaged me around. I didn't even like realize you were watching. Like, wow, how fucking angsty of these teenagers. And like,
That's right. Because the story was so, to me, without any context, just that short period of time that I watched, I'm like, this is so cringy because it's like teenaged angst times 10.
It's 100% what it was, dude.
Yeah, it's a teenage drama story, 100%.
But like, it was free, and I was like, oh, I like these types of games. I'll try it. I did not purchase any further episodes.
Gotcha.
I like Life is Strange. First season was good. I finished it. It's good stuff.
I don't know. It just didn't do it for me, I guess.
It gets better because it steps away from a teenage angst drama session and ends up becoming a murder mystery.
See, it was like, he kept alluding to like this huge storm that was going to come and just like kill everyone in the town. But like, oh shit, did you hear that rumor that Jenny started? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, make up your mind. What kind of game are we?
Like it's like, oh, big storm coming. Oh, Jenny's missing. Oh, there's a murder in town. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. We gonna solve this murder. It was your art teacher. Spoiler. And just like that, now you can't play it because
No, I'm glad, because if it ever popped up in my head where I was like, fuck, I need to know what happens, I have to buy it. No, I don't have to.
no, you
know,
don't.
know.
I just saved you. Yeah, I just saved you all that.
Is there actually a storm, or is the storm just a
Yes,
symbol
there is
for
a
the
storm.
murder?
No, there is an actual legitimate storm too at the very end, but
A
I don't know
legitimate
what...
storm that is going to destroy the town, and you have to
Yeah.
like stop it because you're all like super powerful.
You get a choice at the very end where you can sacrifice the city to save your friend Chloe, or you can sacrifice Chloe to save the town, and so that ends up being the big
fuck
decision at the
Chloe,
very
dude.
end.
She's out.
That's what I said.
Chloe was like the really punky one who was like your friend from way back, right?
Yeah, it was like, do you sacrifice Chloe to save the town? It's like, fuck yeah, I do. And it's like, wait, do you want to hear the other choice? I'm like, no, I'm good.
No, this is fine. This is where I was hoping it would go. I've been
Yeah,
waiting.
there's
for this.
no other choice that would make me change my mind here. Okay, we got it.
Unless it's sacrifice Chloe and destroy the town.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe. I mean, I can't remember exactly what happened. Maybe that is what happened anyway. It's like, oh, you tried to save her, but everyone died anyway. I'm like, I don't know. That's life.
Great.
Life is strange.
I love
A
it.
little too on the. That would have been a little too on the nose.
Or the perfect amount. Like, this was all just a setup for that.
Yeah, that would have been funny. God damn it, you got my money already.
I wouldn't even have been mad. I'd just been like, you got me. Good on you.
All right, guys, anything else for this episode?
Nope.
Not
We're
really.
like almost 2 hours in here.
I was going to say this is a long one. Like I said, I guess, just have fun on Friday, guys.
I will, Joe. Thank you. If you want to take the day off and join us, feel free.
I have Friday off anyways, but I don't know. I've invested my time already.
I understand. You've been waiting for Classic for quite a while.
Yes, I have.
Fuck you. Anyways, guys.
All right. Maybe down the line.
All right.
If you guys are still playing together.
I mean, I'll be playing it for a while.
Yeah, we'll see how the weekend goes.
Yeah, Chris on the other.
All right, Pat, we'll take us out of this episode then.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Pixel Perfect Gaming. I hope you enjoyed Joe and his conversations. He'll never be here again. I don't like him that much. So yeah, have a good week. Play Borderlands with us. Don't play WoW Classic, and love you. Bye.
Perfect.